Again, Big U, his son Baby Huey, or Big Huey, right? He was assassinated last night on Halloween out there in LA.
Los Angeles streets were left in disbelief after the shocking Halloween night execution of Big U's son, Jabari Henley. But what came next pushed the city into absolute chaos. Affiliates connected to Nipsey instantly began mocking Big U's loss online, lighting the fuse for an explosive feud that no one saw coming. And trust me, the tension goes much deeper than it looks. Stick around, because we're unpacking the full story. Let's get into it. A Halloween horror story straight from the trenches. On a night meant for costumes, candy, and kids filling the blocks with laughter, Los Angeles, especially South Central, was hit with breaking news that shook every corner from Crenshaw to Compton, echoing across the entire hip-hop scene. This wasn't just another violent night in the city. What happened next would uncover layers of long-standing beefs, hidden resentments, and pain buried in the culture since 2019. The murder of Jabari Baby Wee Henley wasn't some random drive-by. It became the epicenter of one of the most toxic online smear campaigns hip-hop has ever witnessed, where old grudges resurfaced, and the internet turned into a battlefield with zero mercy. At approximately 11:11 p.m. on Halloween, October 31st, 2025, lapped officers from the 77th Street Division responded to reports of gunfire near South Figueroa Street and West 69th Street. What unfolded there would soon dominate headlines as one of the most talked-about shootings of the entire year. Now, if you're familiar with South LA, you already know that Vermont's Lawson Zone. It's been a war zone for decades, where every block carries history and the energy never cools down. The hit went down at a small smoke shop called Fig and 69 Smoke Spot. Surrounded by liquor stores, auto shops, and half-empty lots deep in Roland 60s territory, a neighborhood held down by the Crips for generations. Reports say the shop itself wasn't tied to any set, it just happened to sit in the wrong spot at the wrong time. The whole situation played out like a scene straight from a crime thriller, but this was no movie, and those weren't blanks. Witnesses included two customers walking out of the store and a food truck vendor nearby. They all recalled a dark-colored sedan, possibly a Toyota Camry or a Honda Accord, rolling up to the curb. Jabari Henley, standing 6'1" and weighing around 210 pounds, approached the car from the sidewalk, talking briefly with someone inside through the passenger window. What happened next was over in seconds, executed with chilling precision, leaving no doubt this wasn't random. Before anyone could even react, the silence shattered into a burst of gunfire, the kind that echoes through the block and sends everyone diving for cover.
And I want to talk about, Big U. His son was assassinated last night out there in LA. Absolutely nasty work, man. Again, Big U, his son Baby Huey, or Big Huey, right? He was assassinated last night on Halloween out there in LA.
Now, the details surrounding this shooting are nothing short of chilling. The gunman unleashed at least 7 shots, and according to investigators, the weapon used was likely a semi-automatic. Shell casings collected at the scene indicated either a 9mm or a .40 caliber firearm. Jabari was hit 4 times. 2 rounds tore through his torso, 1 struck his upper chest, another hit his abdomen, with additional wounds to his left arm and thigh. He collapsed right there on the pavement outside the smoke shop, clutching his side as the dark sedan sped north on Figueroa, made a sharp right onto 68th Street, and vanished into the Los Angeles night like a ghost. Emergency units responded fast, but in this city, sometimes fast still isn't fast enough. LFD Station 46 arrived at 11:14 p.m. to find Jabari barely hanging on, gasping for air in that shallow, desperate rhythm your body makes when it's fighting to survive. He'd already lost massive amounts of blood. The medics immediately jumped into resuscitation mode, administering CPR, pumping his chest, and pushing epinephrine through and 4, doing everything possible to bring him back. But by 11:28 p.m., just 14 minutes after they pulled up, his pulse was gone. Jabari Baby Wee Henley was pronounced dead on the scene. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office conducted the autopsy on November 1st, labeling it under case number 202-500-4512. The official cause of death, multiple gunshot wounds, with fatal internal bleeding and a ruptured left pulmonary artery. Toxicology came back completely clean. No alcohol, no narcotics, nothing that would have slowed him down that night. The verdict was clear: homicide, no question about it. Which brings us to the bigger question. Who really was Jabari Baby Wee Henley? That's what we need to uncover, because to truly understand the impact of his death, you have to know the man behind the name. Born March 15, 1991, in Inglewood, right in the heart of LA County, Jabari wasn't chasing fame like his father, Eugene Big U Henley. He kept a low profile, stayed focused, and still had a deep love for the culture. Under the name Baby Wee, he dropped a few tracks, including a 2019 record titled featuring Hood Rich Pablo Juan, produced by Kenny Beats, which pulled around 150,000 streams on Spotify. His music was grounded, stories of surviving the trenches and protecting family, lyrics that hit way harder now, knowing how it all ended. But truth be told, rap wasn't his main hustle. Friends close to him said Jabari was working as a warehouse supervisor at a logistics company out in Compton. He was a full-time father to his 10-year-old daughter and made it clear he wasn't about that street life. They describe him as out the way, street talk for staying focused, avoiding the chaos, and not getting dragged into beef tied to his last name. And that detail matters, because Jabari symbolized what so many young men in South LA are striving for: to stay connected to their roots while building a life outside the cycle of gangs and violence. People who grew up around him spoke highly of his character, his discipline, and the quiet respect he carried everywhere he went.
I mean, it is what it is as far as this is how the streets go, but Baby Huey, I ain't gonna hold you. Solid dude. Like, as young as he was, if you actually met him, he actually seemed way older. Kel was solid, like straight, solid dude. Now some of y'all be, well, he was in the street. He didn't operate like that. He wasn't operating out here like no goofy. Let me just flat out put that out there.
Jabari left behind 3 siblings, each carving their own path. His younger brother, Diang Henley, 28 years old and a starting linebacker for the Los Angeles Chargers, took to Instagram on November 1st, writing, "My heart is shattered. Rest easy, bro. We got the fam." His older brother, Michael Henley, 32, runs a barbershop out in Hawthorne, while his sister, Shirish Henley, 30, works as a registered nurse in Long Beach. The entire family was focused on progress, each making moves in their own lane, trying to rise above the chaos that surrounded their last name. But this is where the story takes an even darker turn. The moment Jabari's father learned the news. Eugene Big U Henley, 58 years old, was behind bars at the Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles when he found out his son had been killed. He's been held there without bail since March 2025 after being indicted on 43 counts under federal RICO charges. The case was massive. Prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California accused Big U of operating a criminal enterprise linked to the Rolling 60s Crips, involving extortion, human trafficking, large-scale bank fraud, and even ordering a hit on a rapper in Las Vegas. How he received the news shows just how heartless the prison system can be. Around 1:30 a.m. on November 1st, Big U's co-defendant, music executive Loose Cannon, who's also wrapped up in the same RICO case, got word through a contraband cell phone from someone on the outside. During Lights Out, in the silence of the tier, he had to break it to Big U in a whisper. Later on, Cannon spoke to TMZ and Hot New Hip Hop, recounting how the moment unfolded. "Big U just froze," Cannon said. "He didn't say much at first, just tears running down, fists clenched. Then, through broken emotion, Big U whispered, 'Not my boy, not like this.' It was the raw grief of a father forced to mourn his son from behind concrete walls, unable to even hold him one last time. 'We're both shattered,' Cannon added. 'Heartbroken doesn't cover it. We'll get through this, even from in here. God don't make mistakes. It's a test, but we'll rise.' As of November 2nd, 2025, the case remains open with no arrests. LAPD's South Bureau Homicide Division continues to work it aggressively, gathering footage from 12 different surveillance cameras in the surrounding area. On November 1st, the department issued a $50,000 reward through its citywide crime reward program, hoping someone would step forward with a lead that could break the case. But what happened next, online, showed a whole other side of this tragedy. Because in the hours and days following Jabari's death, the internet took things to an entirely different level. What should have been a moment of mourning turned into a social media circus that exposed just how dark and toxic online culture can get when grief, rumor, and old wounds collide. Less than 2 hours after the first police scanner report surfaced at around 11:45 p.m. on October 31st, social media lit up like wildfire. The story of Jabari Henley's killing didn't just spread through LA, it went global within hours. Across every major platform, the news unleashed a storm of comments, conspiracies, and flat-out disrespect that highlighted the absolute worst sides of the internet, and the fact that the hip-hop community still hasn't fully healed from losing Nipsey Hussle. What followed wasn't empathy or calls for justice. It was far more sinister, a wave of users calling it karma, divine punishment, and even mocking the death of a young father, all because of rumors tied to his dad's legacy. Within just 90 minutes of the first reports, the internet had already twisted the story, linking it to those long-standing conspiracy theories about Big U's alleged involvement in Nipsey Hussle's 2019 murder. On X, what we now call Twitter, mentions of Big U's son jumped from 2,500 posts at midnight to over 15,000 by 6 a.m. on November 1st. Hashtags like #CostBigHenley and #BabyWe were trending all across Los Angeles. The speed of it all was insane, proof of how fast tragedy becomes content, how speculation turns into facts, and how social media has turned real human loss into entertainment for the masses. TikTok was soon overflowing with videos, including disturbing clips showing paramedics performing CPR on Jabari, uploaded by anonymous accounts that racked up over 3.2 million views by noon on November 1st. On Instagram, fan pages dedicated to Nipsey Hussle began reposting those same videos, blending tributes to Nip with subtle accusations aimed at Big U. Within hours, the content had generated over 25 million global impressions. The algorithm couldn't resist it, feeding users a narrative that had been simmering in hip-hop circles for years, just waiting for a spark to reignite it. The disrespect online came disguised as karma or Nipsey's spirit finally getting revenge, all rooted in the long-standing conspiracy theories that have shadowed Big U since 2019. Rumors claiming he vouched for Eric Holder Jr., the Rolling 60s member convicted in 2022 for Nipsey's murder, or that he profited off Nipsey's death through his record label, resurfaced once again. But those claims were debunked years ago. Big U's name never even appeared in court transcripts from Holder's trial. Still, both the streets and the internet have a rule. Rumors run laps before facts even leave the starting line. Old clips started circulating again with new traction. A 2021 interview featuring Charleston White resurfaced on November 1st, pulling in 11,000 likes and nearly 500 reposts. In the video, Charleston launched into a series of explosive accusations about Nipsey's death and Big U's alleged role, claims that added even more fuel to an already raging digital fire.
Homie, they killed Nip too. Let's not forget, homie, they killed Nipsey Hussle. Eric Holder was not a lone actor in that. If you go back and follow the details, Nip and Big U got into it. Big U hit Nip Daddy across the head with a bat. His brother had to come out and shoot the gun. Hey, y'all get out. Say, Nip, come on, we finna come beat you. Because I don't want to pay that $20,000.
Then came the reappearance of Loose Cannon's old podcast rant from 2025, recorded before he caught his federal case. That episode resurfaced and quickly hit 6,000 likes, with Cannon claiming that Big U had signed Nipsey to a shady deal and let the snake circle. The irony wasn't lost on viewers, that the same man who'd once accused Big U of betrayal was now the one who had to break the news of Jabari's death to him inside prison. Soon after, rapper Brick Baby stepped in during an interview to call out Cannon's narrative as completely baseless, pointing out how wild it was to see old speculation being recycled just because tragedy struck again.
All this is nonsense. Me and Big U even had a conversation about it. And I said, man, I'm sorry you're getting dragged into this fake storyline. Not that I have anything to do with it, because I've never interviewed Loose Cannon or anything else like that. But I just as someone I'm cool with, I said, I'm sorry that this is the story that's going out and people are running with it, because I remember every conversation I've ever had with Big U, he's always spoken positively about Nipsey. Every time. Our interview, nothing negative about Nipsey. Personal conversations, nothing negative about Nipsey, ever.
Whack 100's Instagram Live from March 2025 also resurfaced, where he talked about an alleged physical confrontation between Big U and Nipsey back in 2017 that supposedly led to Black Sam's arrest. That clip alone sparked a viral thread with over 50,000 engagements. None of this was new information, just old controversies getting dug back up, recycled by an algorithm designed to thrive on conflict and chaos. The online reaction in those first few hours after Jabari's murder showed exactly how twisted things can get when grief meets gossip. At 12:07 a.m. on November 1st, someone posted footage of the crime scene captioned, "Retaliation for Big U's alleged Nipsey setup. Street war never ends." It got 19 likes and 5 reposts. By 1:46 a.m., another user shared the CPR clip with a sobering caption, comments full of Nipsey's spirit and sins of the father. "We've lost compassion. Death as entertainment." That post gained 95 likes. But by 6:47 a.m., the tone turned uglier. A tweet reading, "LA let Big U walk after killing your legend Nipsey. Trash City." Racked up 2,400 likes. And at 12:57 p.m., a YouTube link titled "Proof Big U Killed Nipsey and Son's Best Friend" had already pulled 417 views within hours. When you stack up the data, the scale of that digital mob becomes impossible to ignore, showing just how fast tragedy transforms into trending content, and how online outrage has replaced empathy in the culture. Out of roughly 8,000 analyzed social media posts from November 1st and November 2nd, nearly 62% referenced Nipsey using hashtags like #NipseyKarma, which appeared over 4,000 times. Only 28% of posts were neutral condolences, and a mere 10% condemned the mockery. Eventually, the platforms had to step in to curb the chaos. X suspended 15 accounts for doxing on November 1st, TikTok demonetized more than 200 videos for showing graphic footage, and Instagram flagged around 50 reels under its hate speech policy. But the bigger takeaway here isn't about moderation. It's about what this entire digital frenzy exposed. Somewhere along the way, we've lost sight of what grief, justice, and karma are even supposed to mean. The narrative being pushed online had zero evidence linking Jabari's murder to anything that happened back in 2019. It was pure emotion, fueled by collective trauma that still lingers from losing Nipsey Hussle. Many people, still broken from that loss, cast Big U as the villain, and in their minds, Jabari's death became some kind of cosmic revenge, pain returning full circle. But not everyone bought into that energy. Members connected to Nipsey's estate publicly distanced themselves from the toxicity. Through the Marathon Records Instagram page, Black Sam posted on November 1st, writing, "Pain multiplies pain. Honor Nip with peace, not this." Several respected voices within the hip-hop world echoed the same message, calling out what they saw as a disturbing loss of empathy and decency. Those who actually knew Big U personally stood up for him, defending a grieving father against baseless conspiracy theories being used to humiliate him while he sat behind bars, mourning his child.
I feel like they had whatever differences they had when Nip was alive, and they got over that shit. I've been around for a minute, so I don't feel like that even carried on to, you know what I mean? Like, that's a crazy. Just imagine you raising this young dude, y'all fall out about some business stuff.
Here's the hard truth that too many people seem to ignore. Eric Holder Jr., the man actually convicted of murdering Nipsey Hussle, was sentenced to 60 years to life back in 2022. Throughout the entire trial, Big U's name never surfaced. Not in phone records, not in testimony, not in any of the official court transcripts. As one legal analyst put it while breaking down these rumors, if there had been even a shred of proof tying Big U to a murder-for-hire plot, prosecutors would have jumped on it during Holder's case. And that's the reality. The evidence simply never existed. The conspiracy lives on not because it's true, but because outrage gets clicks and pain gets views.
And the person who killed Nipsey Hussle has been convicted of the murder. Big U's name never came up in the trial.
Not a call log, not a
nothing. Not a nothing. You would think that in a case this serious where you're facing life in prison, if it really was a murder for hire, like people are trying to say it is, which is nonsense, that person would probably come forward to try to get their time.
But this online storm didn't just stay online. It spilled into the streets. Lapped reported a 22% spike in anonymous tips to Crime Stoppers between November 1st and 2nd, logging more than 150 calls mentioning old neighborhood beefs tied to both Nipsey and Big U. The backlash revealed a vicious cycle, grief over Nipsey's death being weaponized against a completely separate tragedy, deepening old divides in a community still struggling to heal 6 years later. And as detectives kept pushing the investigation into Jabari's murder forward, the noise from social media started to drown out what actually mattered. Justice for a young father who'd been doing everything he could to avoid the same streets that took him. To really understand why Jabari Henley's death and the reaction it triggered hit so hard, we've got to rewind the story, to the roots of it all. Back to the real relationship between Nipsey Hussle and Eugene Big U Henley, a connection that's been warped by years of speculation, false narratives, and the internet's obsession with turning complex human stories into simple tales of heroes and villains. Because the truth, like always, runs a lot deeper than what Twitter threads and TikTok clips would have you believe. The story really begins back in the mid-2000s. Big U had just been released on parole in 2004 after serving time with the California Department of Corrections. Not long after, he began organizing peace talks between Crips and Bloods under a new group he founded in 2005, the Community Intervention Alliance, or CIA. Around that same time, a young Nipsey Hussle, about 20 years old and making his name as a Rolling 60s affiliate, started showing up to those informal meetings in Crenshaw. Big U saw something different in him. He called Nipsey a next-generation leader, someone who could bridge the gap between the OGs and the young hustlers trying to come up. By February 2009, Nipsey made things official, signing a 10-year management deal with Big U's Onique music label. The contract included a 10% management fee and a 25% publishing split, terms that were standard at the time, though later criticized as predatory when fans revisited it in 2023 and even launched a petition over it. Still, during those years, the two were locked in. They worked side by side, pushing both their personal goals and their shared mission of community empowerment. In 2010, they co-hosted Unity in the Community at Lymet Park, an event that brought out more than 800 people. Big U helped mediate truces between the Rolling 60s and the Hoovers, while Nipsey hit the stage to perform. 2 years later, in 2012, they each put up $5,000 for CIA's youth programs. When XXL magazine asked Nipsey about it, he said, "You bridged sets that saved lives on my block." Big U responded to that quote saying, he made the music that backed the message. Their partnership hit its peak between 2016 and 2018. The Block by Block series they co-hosted tackled issues like gentrification and brought out a combined crowd of over 4,000 people. Around the same time, Big U was giving A&R input on Nipsey's Victory Lap, the Grammy-nominated album that defined his legacy, even helping connect him with Kendrick Lamar for features. By 2018, Nipsey showed just how much respect he had for that foundation, donating $100,000 to the CIA to keep their programs alive. They seemed completely aligned, two men driven by the same mission to uplift Crenshaw from within. But as Nipsey's fame skyrocketed and his business empire grew, quiet tension began to build. Whispers of a falling out started surfacing in late 2018. Nipsey reportedly wanted to exit his Onique contract early to gain full creative control, and that August he launched a marathon clothing brand independently. Big U still showed up to the grand opening, but afterward, he posted a cryptic message on X, "Loyalty tests all." Later, photos surfaced from that same event showing Eric Holder in attendance, standing in the same frame as Big U. Those images would take on an entirely different meaning after Nipsey's death. When Nipsey Hussle was murdered on March 31, 2019, Big U's response was immediate and visible. On April 2nd, he helped organize a massive unity march that drew more than 5,000 people, rival gangs walking together under a shared call for peace. At Nipsey's memorial, Big U delivered a eulogy where he said, "He was my son in spirit." His organization, CIA, handled all the logistics for the service. Together, through joint fundraisers and community events, they raised over $200,000 for neighborhood programs in Nipsey's honor. For those who witnessed his grief firsthand, it was clear Big U had channeled immense pain into purpose. That's what made the later accusations not just false, but deeply cruel. Still, the rumors refused to die. In July 2020, a viral X thread accused Big U of vouching for Eric Holder, generating over 50,000 interactions. The following month, Big U went on Vlad TV to confront the rumors head-on, saying, "I built peace with Nip, I didn't break it." But in today's social media culture, where algorithms reward chaos over truth, denials rarely travel as far as lies. And when Big U later spoke about what those accusations cost him, personally, emotionally, and professionally, you could hear it in his voice, the exhaustion of a man who tried to hold a community together, only to watch it turn on him when he needed it most.
When Nipsey died, right? When Nipsey got killed, we probably had about 300, 375, 400 kids that was in our program. And I had the travel basketball team. We had a contract with Adidas that was worth about $3 million that Kanye West gave us.
Wow.
And then I had like a bunch of other different contracts. And for a nonprofit, we were really thriving. Then Nipsey gets killed. Well, after Nipsey get killed, then the rumor goes out, Big U had something to do. We lost everything.
You lost all those?
Everyone, I tell you everything.
Wow.
Kanye stopped answering the phone. Adidas stopped answering the phone. And I ended up almost going dead broke because we already committed to these.
The fallout wasn't just about losing money. It was about years of peace building, community programs, and every ounce of credibility Big U had earned since walking out of prison being stripped away overnight. By 2023, data from excess sentiment analysis told the story clearly. Positive mentions linking Nipsey and Big U had dropped from 80% in 2018 to just 35% 5 years later. Over 5,000 posts pushed rumors that buried everything he'd built. The damage was permanent, even though there was never a shred of verified evidence to back the accusations. Then came March 2025, and things took an even darker turn. Big U was arrested and hit with a sweeping federal indictment, 43 counts under RICO. Prosecutors painted him as the head of a mafia-style operation tied to the Rolling 60s Crips, accusing him of extortion, human trafficking through his label Onique Music, and bank fraud involving $1.2 million in COVID relief loans. The most shocking charge, orchestrating the 2021 murder of an aspiring Vegas rapper over a diss track. Big U pleaded not guilty. His defense attorney withdrew in September 2025, forcing him to represent himself, with trial now set for May 2026. It's against this backdrop, a father locked in federal custody, fighting for his freedom while the internet continues to crucify him for a murder he had nothing to do with, that Jabari Henley lost his life. The cruelty of that timing can't be overstated. A man already stripped of his freedom, already drowning under the weight of public judgment, now forced to mourn his son from behind bars, while the internet celebrated it as karma. As of November 2nd, 2025, LAPD's investigation into Jabari's murder is still active. Detectives have reviewed 12 surveillance videos and are awaiting the full ballistics and toxicology reports expected by November 5th. 2 persons of interest from Inglewood, neither tied to the Rolling 60s, were detained on November 1st and later released after their alibis checked out. Forensics found partial DNA on the sedan's door handle matching a Hoover affiliate. A lead internal lap memos describe as spillover retaliation, but not the kind the internet was spinning. Because in the real world, this wasn't cosmic payback. It was just another young man taken too soon, caught in a cycle of violence the internet only amplified. And that's the painful truth this tragedy lays bare. How social media has reshaped our relationship with grief, justice, and truth itself. The Henley family, already strained by Big U's RICO case and the government freezing their Hyde Park assets, is now preparing for a private memorial, tentatively set for November 8th. A father in a cell. A son gone too soon. A city divided by ghosts it still hasn't buried. Thank you for watching. If you found this story powerful, Click one of the videos on your screen to dive deeper into more untold stories from hip-hop's hidden history.